Today I unbox, set up and try out two brand new hand planes. One is a modern classic, the other one is a surprise find. I'll tell you more on the other side of the intro. How's it? My name is Dylan, and on this edition of Ply Creations I unbox and set up and try two new hand planes. The first one will be my new Veritas Router Plane, and the second is the mystery plane that is in this box. I'm not going to tell you what's in there right now. You're going to need to watch until later in the video to find out. But today is a little bit self-indulgent, and if I do offend anybody out there, I apologize in advance. To those of you out there who regularly unbox equipment and so forth on YouTube or anywhere else, compliments. How you guys find the self-discipline to keep your grubby little fingers off a box until you've got time to record it or film it, I don't know. This router plane has been under my workbench now for 2 months, and I've finally gotten around, excuse me, to unboxing it and filming it. So sit back, relax, and watch me find out what's in the box. So we're starting with a Veritas Router Plane. I haven't opened it up yet, so we'll be discovering what's inside the box together. We'll likely go over to a short time lapse for the process of setting them up, and then at the end of the video I'll show you how they work in use and maybe give you a short review of what I think of them. So onto the Veritas. Comes well packed in a cardboard box, so let's open it up. So what do we have in the box? We've got a cardboard spacer, keep everything in place. We have a manual, and we have loose packaging, and here we have a 1/2 inch straight blade. We have a 1/2 inch V blade. We have a little jig, or it's probably the best description for it. It's a little jig that's used to sharpen the blades. So the blades are attached to a upright shaft. I don't know what the correct terminology for that is, but it's attached to the shaft that gets mounted onto the router plane, and you can loosen it and remove the blades using an Allen key. And what this allows you to do is to sharpen the short blades in a honing guide or something like that. The reason I know what it looks like is I use a Stanley router plane for which I've replaced the blades. By the way, if you didn't know that, the Stanley router planes can use the Veritas router blades. Then finally in the box, get that out of the way, we have the body of the router plane. Big reveal. Get that out of the way. And there it is. And the blades will then mount in here. Let me show you. Let's see what these look like. As with everything Veritas, well packed and protected for shipping. And that's the bar, and that is what the blade is mounted to, and that will then slot in underneath. Loosen that up. Quite exciting. It's the first time I'm handling one of these Veritas router planes. That slots in there and then gets tightened again. And there you go, assembled, and apart from setting your depth of cut, ready to go. So what I'll be looking at is, and this is something I do with all my hand planes, is I'll lubricate all the threads on all the screws and the thumb nuts and so forth, and I'll get a light coat of oil on the exposed metal parts. On the blades, this is what the V blade will look like, and that is for rough material removal typically. And what I'll do on these blades is, just with any other blade, I will flatten the bottom of the blade and then sharpen and hone the bevels to get a sharp edge. And it's really a simple tool, but these small blades can be tricky to sharpen. So I'll set that up and then I'll come back and I'll show you how that works. But before I get there, onto our mystery plane. Change of plan. I'm going to set up the router plane first and then we'll get on to the mystery plane. So what do we have in the mystery box? Well, it is a Stanley number 78, also known, depending where you are in the world, as a rebate plane or a rabbit plane or a Philister plane. This was given to me as a gift, and just imagine my surprise finding this plane in this box. I didn't have the self-discipline not to open up this one. And inside we have a Philister plane that is very close to mint condition. It does have a little bit of wear and tear, so it has been used, but apart from that, it's in really, really good state. So what is in the box? Well, we've got the body of the plane, or sorry, the hand plane, and mounted to the body is we have the lever cap as well as the blade. The blade is slightly chipped. That's the body. And then in the box, believe it or not, we have the original manual. Get that out of the way so I can open it up and show you. With all its instructions. It's really, really cool. This was manufactured Sheffield, England. I know there are websites out there that tells you how old your Bailey pattern planes are, or your bevel down Stanley planes and record hand planes. If anybody can give me advice about finding out how old this is, I would truly appreciate it. So got the manual there, move that to one side, and along in the box we have the depth stop, and that is attached to the body of the hand plane using that little thumb screw. And then we have the fence as well as the rod that mounts onto. What makes a rebate plane, or this particular rebate plane, special is the fact that it's especially good when working across the grain. And what that allows you to, or how it allows you to do it, is this little blade there. It's called a nicker, and I've now seen in the manual it's also called a spur, and this is you sharpen. It's in the neutral position now, but by swinging around one of these cutters, it allows you to cut or sever the cross grain before your blade engages the cross grain, and then that limits tear out on the outside of the rebate. How everything goes together is your depth stop has got almost like a rib there that sits in the slot on the body, just to keep it perpendicular to the sole of the plane, and that is then attached or held in place with that thumb screw, and of course set according to the depth that you want on your rebate. The rod screws into that hole, and then the fence slides onto that and is then held into position with that screw there. So as with the Stanley, I'll be lubricating the bare metal parts, lubricating all the threads, reset the primary bevel. I'll likely do that on the grinder to get rid of the nicks, flatten the back of the blade, and we should be ready to give it a test drive. So onto a time lapse. Okay, so both hand planes are set up, well oiled, blades are sharp and ready for their first test run. I've got a section of lumber mounted on my mini workbench. By the way, I've got plans for this particular bench. You can go and check them out on my website, so I'll leave the link in the description. But back to testing these two hand planes. Just a note on the prep for the hand planes. The Veritas plane's blade was flat on the back. It was really quick to get it flat. However, it wasn't a few nicks or a few small nicks on the cutting edge. Quite bad nicks all along the cutting edge, so that took a while on the grinder to get done. And then on the Veritas hand plane, it's just a testament again to Veritas's manufacturing. Getting the back of those blades flat was a matter of seconds, and I've really never struggled with any one of the Veritas tools that I've ever had. Now, for those of you who are, shall we say, professional Veritas plane users or regular users of the plane, this is my first time. If I'm doing anything wrong, let me know in the comment section. As far as I understand, and I had it on a test run before, is you leave the knicker out until such time as you've separated or cut the first layer of fibers, and thereafter you take it out and then go on. If I'm wrong, let me know. So on to the section of lumber that we'll be working with. Let's have a look at how it works. So first of all, we need to sever the fibers. And we're using the fence. Struggled on a section here. I don't think it's completely flat. Now I'm going to move the knicker out of the way and then set the depth of cut. So I haven't set the depth of the cut to be very deep, otherwise we're going to be here most of the day. Let's see how that goes. And that works really well. I'm almost in the mood to set the depth of cut even more and carry on with that. But it's leaving a very clean shoulder. So the initial cut with the knicker severs the initial fibers on. After that, the blade takes care of the rest and you don't have the tear out. So I've got a nice, even, clean shoulder. So next up, we are moving on to the router plane. And often router planes are used to clean out the bottoms of rebates, rabbits. So I'm just going to go over and even out the bottom of the rebate. And as you can see, it leaves a really nice finish, and the blade is nice and sharp. Referencing from this surface here, I get an even surface at the bottom of the rebate. And keeping the blade into the corner will also clean up the corner of the rebate and clean up the joinery eventually as well. So all in all, quite impressed. Of course, I'll need to sharpen those blades again before I put these planes back to where they belong. So as you can tell by the smile on my face, that little test run, as short as it was a lot of fun. And if I told you it wasn't, I'd be lying. The Veritas Router Plane, compared to my old Stanley, is a precision instrument. And if you'd like me to do a full review on the Veritas Router Plane or compare that to the Stanley, let me know in the comment section. I'll see what I can do for you. But today's video wasn't just about self-indulgence and having fun. It also marks the kickoff or the start of a hand plane campaign that is going to take place on my website as well as here on YouTube. So that's going to include videos, it's going to include articles and a few downloadable checklists and other documents that you can print out and keep with you at the bench with the information we're going to be covering during the campaign. To keep track of what I'm doing, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm leaving a link in the description where you can sign up on my website. That will give you access not only to the downloadables, I'll be creating for this campaign, but all the downloadables I have created for my library thus far. But that brings us to the end of this edition of Ply Creations. Hope you had as much fun as I did. Until I see you again, I hope you have a good one. Be safe in your workshop, and until then, cheers.